Hi, everybody. This is Brian Small, the Assistant Director at Vanderbilt Hillel. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. I just wanted to do a quick sound check. Can everybody hear me? Thumbs up. Everything good? Excellent. Hold tight. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. Hi, everyone. Brian Small again, Assistant Director of Vanderbilt Hillel. We'll be starting in just a minute or two. A reminder, if possible, please make sure that you are on mute. You can absolutely show us your wonderful faces on camera. That'd be really, really great. And we should be starting in just a minute or two. We want to get everybody the opportunity to get here. We figure there's probably a few latecomers, so hold tight and we'll be starting in a minute or two. Thank you.
I'm on the Vanderbilt meeting, but the guy isn't speaking. Lexi's on it.
Oh, really?
Hi, everybody. It's Brian Small again, Assistant Director of Vanderbilt Hillel. We'll be starting in just about a minute or so. Like I said before, just a little reminder, please turn off your microphones if you'd like to. We'd love to see your face and you can start your video. I'll be sharing a presentation for most of the time, so we'll be beginning in just a minute or two. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. This is Brian Small. I am the Assistant Director at Vanderbilt Hillel. I just want to take a moment before we begin to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time this Sunday to learn about Vanderbilt Hillel, to learn about Vanderbilt University, and to join us. As we get going, I'm just going to start by saying that I'm be joined today by Veronica Grady and Lital Shoshan. They're two employees of Vanderbilt Hillel. and they're going to be helping me with some of the back end stuff. If you have any questions, you can put them into the chat, and both of them will start to answer those questions as best we possibly can. I will be covering a lot of material today, so sometimes they may answer that it's a little bit later in the presentation, but we're going to take good care of you today and make sure that you know everything that you need to know about Vanderbilt Hillel and Vanderbilt University. I'd like to start today by letting you know that we are asking you please to stay on mute if possible, and that we'd also like to see your faces if we can on video. If you're willing to do that, that would be absolutely wonderful. I'm going to go over the itinerary for today in just a moment, but I wanted to just remind you of those things before we got started. All right, let's roll into today's presentation. All right, so here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief introduction. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history and the important demographics at Vanderbilt Hillel. We're going to talk a little bit about religious life and holidays. We're also going to share the most important information of all. We're going to tell you all about the food. And I know right now that is the big pressing question on most of your minds. And don't worry, I don't wait to the end. I got to make you wait a little bit. I put it in the middle. But let me tell you, it's worth the wait. You're going to love it. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the Hillel micro communities. We're specifically going to talk about FYSH and our Israel on campus efforts. And then we're going to tell you a little bit about Jewish Nashville and everything else, including some things that we're doing specifically for this year to stay COVID safe. At the very end of the presentation, we'll open things up to questions as best we possibly can. I'm going to admit to you, this is not the way I usually like doing these sorts of presentations. I certainly don't like talking for a half hour, 45 minutes straight, and then asking you guys for questions at the end. I'd much rather prefer an interactive experience, but we're going to do the best job we can today because we are expecting approximately 120 people. That includes parents and students and high school people and possibly even some representatives from the university. So unfortunately, this is the best way to present the information to you is kind of straight line presentation, but I promise you at the very, very end, we're going to do everything we can to allow you guys to ask questions. And as I said to you a little while ago, for the new people who came in, if you have any questions about the presentation during the presentation, I encourage you to use the chat box where Veronica Grady and Lital Shoshan will be able to answer some of them or let you know that the presentation is going to answer those same questions a little bit later. So a little bit about me. I am the assistant director here at Vanderbilt Hillel. I am in my 4th year working at Vanderbilt Hillel, although I have worked either 13 or 14 years, can't quite remember where we're at this point, in the Hillel movement. Previously, I was at Syracuse University Hillel. I had a wonderful time there. I was an undergraduate at Syracuse. I was a graduate at Syracuse. And then my family decided that we wanted to change and we moved down to Nashville to take this job here at Vanderbilt Hillel. My responsibilities here include a lot of the administrative day-to-day tasks. However, I also have the pleasure of overseeing our amazing staff and really working together to build a student-forward, a student-facing experience for everyone. I'll tell you a little bit about the rest of the staff shortly. But the really important things that you need to know about me is that I love hot dogs, I love bow ties, I am a crazy Nashville Predators fan now. I love Tottenham Hotspur, Go Spurs, Coys, big win last night, or excuse me, yesterday afternoon. And a lot of other really great things I'm sure about me are going to come up. Don't worry, you won't have any questions about me before this whole thing is over. So a brief history and some important demographics. Roughly speaking, we believe that there's about 1,000 Jewish undergraduates on campus. That represents about 14%, 15%. And if I remember correctly, the last demographics I saw for the university as a whole was that there were approximately 6,880 something students on campus. That number may be a year or two old, but let's just say it's just south of 7,000 total students. And we believe that about 1,000 of those students are Jewish undergrads. Which is really amazing and an unbelievable cultural shift that has happened, which I'll tell you about shortly. In addition to the Jewish undergrads, we've got about 200 graduate students that represent about 3% of the total graduate student makeup. We're really focusing this presentation on Jewish undergrads and the Jewish undergraduate experience. However, if you have any questions about the graduate experience, please let me know. I'll be able to provide you with some additional information. And at the end of this presentation, we also have our contact information. You can also put questions about Jewish graduate students into the chat where Veronica and Lital will be able to answer them. Currently, right now, we have 5 student-facing full-time staff members. This includes Ari Dubin, our executive director, who has over 17 years experience in the Hillel movement. Emily Kahn Perry, who could not join us today, is an Ezra Springboard alumni. She's essentially our Jewish educator on campus and coordinates all of our wellness programming. We find that the Jewish education and wellness programming kind of works together. And a lot of the programs that she does focuses on students' self-care as well as Jewish education, which is a really interesting and dynamic approach, and I love it. Veronica Grady, who is on the call tonight, or today, excuse me, is our current Springboard Innovation Fellow. She's focusing on first-year engagement and communications, and you'll get to know her a little bit more in this presentation shortly. And then Lital Shoshan is brand new. She started and got here and had to quarantine through the high holidays and is just now getting into the swing of things. She's our Israel Fellow, and she's outstanding. She's on the call right now, and I can't wait to tell you a little bit about her efforts. Our building is the Shulman Center for Jewish Life, and it was built and opened approximately 2003, if I remember correctly. Now, let me tell you a little bit of a story about Vanderbilt Hillel. Vanderbilt Hillel is a case study. It's a case study in bringing in and changing dynamic. It's about changing a culture at a major institution. It's really an extraordinary story that I want to share with you today. In the for about 100 years, I would say, as Vanderbilt University existed, it was essentially a very unwelcoming place for Jewish students. At any point for the first 80, 90 years of Vanderbilt University's history, there were maybe somewhere between about 50 and 100 Jewish students on campus. A lot of those Jewish students were local and came from the Nashville area, probably didn't come too much farther than the Atlanta area by what we've heard. Jews were essentially unwelcome on campus. There was a quota system, and the university did everything it possibly could to keep as many Jewish students out of the program. And that reputation stuck with Vanderbilt University for a long, long time, into the 80s, into the 90s. And I was never quite smart enough to get into Vanderbilt University in any way, shape, or form. But I did know students and peers of mine who were smart enough to get into Vanderbilt University. And Jewish students in particular, guidance counselors would tell them not to apply because it was known as a place that was unwelcome for Jewish students. In the late 90s, Gordon Gee became the head of the university and changed everything, completely turned around the culture. And famously, he wrote an article for the Wall Street Journal. It was a front page article that he contributed to, basically saying that if Vanderbilt University was going to become a top leading research institution, if it was going to reach the heights of education that they expected to and that they wanted to, that they were going to have to start bringing in minorities as well as Jewish students, and that he was going to be the one to make the effort to do that. They immediately put together a committee. The committee consisted of rabbis and Jewish educators and other people, and figured out that the best way to move forward was to help create a Hillel program, to start doing all kinds of recruitment in the Northeast and in traditional cities like Chicago and Los Angeles and all those other places. And all of a sudden, in the just around the turn of like 2000, Vanderbilt University started becoming a school that Jewish students began to consider. And since then, they've grown from 100 Jewish students to 1,000 Jewish students on campus every year. And Jewish students are not only welcomed, but appreciated on campus for all of their contributions. It is a really wonderful thing. We have a disproportionate number of Jewish students in leadership positions all around the university. Admissions and all of these other areas have made a priority of welcoming Jewish students, minority students, international students in a way that the university never had previously. That means in approximately 20 years, they undid about 90 years of history. And we're very proud of Vanderbilt University for making that decision and moving forward with that. And we're happy to play a part in that. We're happy to be there for Jewish students that are coming in. And it's a really, really wonderful thing. So religious life and holidays. Currently, the Jewish student population is mostly split between Reform and conservative traditions. There is a small percentage of Orthodox, modern Orthodox students on campus, and it is a growing population, but it is growing extraordinarily slowly. The vast majority are Reform and conservative, and we do believe that over the last 20 years, as the demographics have shifted and more Jewish students have come to Vanderbilt, that the Orthodox community is going to be a little bit slower in terms of their change. There is also a culture of sports and activities and tailgating and studying and all kinds of different things that happen on Saturdays. So again, not quite the environment ready for the Orthodox population. However, they are welcomed when they come. It is just usually a little bit more of a challenge, a little bit different of a culture for them. Our Friday night Shabbat services and dinners are every week that school is in session, and we love them. A lot of people ask me whether or not they're Reform services, they're conservative services, and I tell them yes. Our student leadership is outstanding. Our Jewish Life Committee crafts everything for the Friday night service experience. And right now, and for the last few years, our Jewish Life Committee has been dominated by Jewish camp kids. We love our Jewish camp kids. And quite frankly, they put together a wonderful Friday night Shabbat service that is most closely related to the Jewish summer camp experience. And we absolutely love it. They just do an amazing, amazing job. Holiday services and innovative programs are what we believe in for Rosh Hashanah and Passover and all these other amazing Jewish holidays. For instance, on Rosh Hashanah, we do what we like to call a Seder. Yes, I'm aware of the fact that Seders are traditionally for Passover, but we've crafted a Passover-like experience for Rosh Hashanah, and we welcome students to come in and be a part of a special service in the evening that kind of runs through all of the super important elements of Rosh Hashanah. And it's crafted to be reflective and for students to really think about their experience and share their goals for the year. And it's a wonderful, innovative way of celebrating Rosh Hashanah. It is very, very different. And I haven't seen it too many other places specifically until this year, where I think a few different campuses and communities developed their own Rosh Hashanah style Seders for the COVID situation. Generally speaking, for Rosh Hashanah, in a non-COVID environment, we will see somewhere along the lines of 400 Jewish students for something over the course of Rosh Hashanah. And then for Passover, we see closer to 500. A lot of the times, we do get a very nice population of non-Jewish students who join us as well for those holidays, for Rosh Hashanah and for Passover, because A, they want to support their, Greek brothers and sisters, or B, they just really, really want to indulge in the best food on campus. Did I mention the food is really good? Don't worry, that's coming up, I promise. It's one of the most important parts. For high holidays, we also offer to-go services, which are shortened, abbreviated Rosh Hashanah services, Yom Kippur services on campus, in locations across campus. Excuse me. In locations across campus that are convenient for students, usually with a spread of bagels in the back of the room so that they can come grab lunch and get a very short, condensed service experience for everything that's going on. It's a real joy to be able to put those on for the students in addition to our traditional services, so that they get the opportunity to worship in the way that they are really excited about worshiping. All right, I made you wait long enough. Let's get to the super important part here. The food is amazing. What makes the food amazing? That's a great question. We have Goldie. Goldie is a kosher caterer, and she is a little Jewish grandma. And if you were to close your eyes and picture a little Jewish grandma named Goldie, that's pretty much who she is. She is a little cranky. At times, she can be a little mean to me because I'm the one who helps her organize all the meals. But she is an unbelievable kosher caterer who delivers nothing but the best things for our college students and takes it on as a personal mission to make sure that they get a taste of home with every single holiday, with every single Shabbat meal that she does. It's really extraordinary the work that she does. She's got a 90-plus-year-old mother-in-law who comes in with her and rolls matzo balls for the high holidays and for Shabbats. I mean, just the work that she does is outstanding, and it's a little taste of home. And this is one of the places where I kind of like to stop and say that a lot of other Hillels that you'll go to information sessions for or learn about, we'll talk about being a home away from home. I don't think we're a home away from home. I think we're a family away from family, because we've got people like Goldie who are jumping in to do everything they possibly can to make students feel that sense of being home, but to be able to connect that to a specific person who's there working with them and connecting with them and caring about them and feeding them really good food. I mean, really, really good food. Kosher food is available at every single meal, which we're really, really, really proud of. That kosher food can either come from us on all the holidays, on all of the Shabbats, and we have kosher meat meal options during the holidays on all those Shabbats, or students can also use and utilize our Greens Kosher Cafe. It's an amazing little restaurant that we all operate out of our building. And for all the rest of the meals on campus, breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, Greens has an amazing vegetarian set of options for students to enjoy. And if you'll notice in the pictures, right in the middle, their very famous menu item is actually Nashville hot tofu, which if you're familiar with the Nashville food scene, is actually quite entertaining and also very delicious, and will make you cry sometimes. It's so hot, especially if you ask them for like a little extra. It's really, really good, delicious, and that crazy like hot experience. There are 2 additional kosher restaurants in Nashville. Both of them are absolutely delicious. The one that I like to plug on presentations like this is Woodlands Indian Restaurant, and they have a buffet. And one of the very favorite things I used to do in Nashville with my staff is that I would always take them for staff meetings and engagement meetings to the kosher Indian buffet, and we'd sit there until they basically kicked us out because we've had more than our share. It's delicious food. I know that we don't have all the kosher options that some other cities do have, but the ones that we have are really, really wonderful. And there is also a kosher food truck available that parks near campus and allows students to have meat meals as well in the kosher meat food truck. So that's pretty good. A community for every student. That's our motto. That's what we do. That's what we strive to do. We believe, and this is our core philosophy as a Vanderbilt Hillel. And if you get nothing else from this presentation, I hope that this is the thing that you take home with you, is that we will put together micro communities of whatever interests students have. And we do everything we possibly can to provide them with a unique small group experience that allows them to make friends, make connections, and also engage in Jewish life. It is so important to us. This is every day I go to work, and I want to be able to create a community that will attract a different group of students, that will get a different mixture of students together so that we can build Jewish community through specifically their interests. We do everything we can to keep the barriers of entry super low for these sorts of groups. Students can come once to a program. They can come every week. There's all kinds of different leadership positions that we offer at every single academic level and at every level of time commitment. So if a student doesn't have 5 hours to contribute to Hillel every week, they can participate in a program that takes an hour every month. And we take a lot of pride in the fact that between our micro communities, Green's Kosher Vegetarian Cafe, our Shabbats and our holidays, we really do believe, and I'm not messing around. I'm not telling stories. We really do believe that we reach every single one of the 1,000 Jewish students on campus for something. And we would also say that we get a large percentage of the non-Jewish students who come and participate too, because of the quality of the programming, the quality of the food, or their connection with other students, other Jewish peers. We're really, really, really proud of that. And then we do a lot of traditional and very, very untraditional programming, which I will show you on the next slide. Here's just a sample of some of the Jewish communities that we provide on campus for our beloved students. Our Hillel Executive Leadership Board is the highest level of leadership. We're really, really proud of those students. They take and give the most time commitment to making our Jewish experiences so wonderful on campus. We have the longest running Holocaust lecture series of its type on any academic campus in the entire country. It is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way of getting students involved. Doors for Israel is an Israel program, and I'm more than happy to talk about that later. I'm going to skip down and tell you about the most important, the absolutely most important Hillel program of all time, the Hillel Fantasy Football League, which I have taken as my baby. And this year we had 19 students participate in 2 separate Hillel Fantasy Football Leagues. And in typical non-COVID years, they also get together, do study sessions, and watch games at the building on weekends, which is a really nice way of tying that together. We have other organizations that do exist on many, many, many other campuses, things like Holla for Hunger. We just started a Gift of Life Campus Ambassadors student organization. So not only do we create stuff for ourselves, but we also embrace a lot of the national programs that exist as well. This year, we are going to be starting, when it's COVID friendly to do so, a Hillel Outdoors Outing Club, which Veronica is going to be responsible for. I just started a Hillel role-playing game club because I'm a big fat nerd and I love things like that. And we have quite a few students who love that sort of stuff also. And then I'll just mention this now. We also have our Hillels of Middle Tennessee. We do consider ourselves a regional Hillel. We cater to more than just Vanderbilt University. We also work with students from Belmont, from MTSU. Occasionally we'll have a student or two from Lipscomb. There's a number of other academic institutions in the area, and we're proud to cater to them as well. And if you're interested in learning a little bit more about those Hillels of Middle Tennessee, we're doing a presentation on Tuesday, where we're going to be starting off by talking about Belmont before we roll into the same sort of presentation. So you can kind of come for 15 minutes. And if you're also interested in Belmont or any other Nashville area institutions, I can talk about that as well. But as you can see, this is just a sample of the communities that we operate for our students, and we want them to have an individualized, a personalized community. Again, small groups, easy barrier of entry, something that they can be really, really passionate about and care about. We also focus a lot on academic years. And specifically, we try as hard as we can to help our freshmen adjust. And we call them FYSH, they're first year students of Hillel. And we do everything we possibly can to make them feel comfortable on campus and help them with a very difficult transition and adjustment. I'll say this year in particular was very, very, very challenging for them. And we've done everything we possibly can to ease their transition. At this point, though, I want to introduce you to the expert, to the freshman expert, who went to Syracuse University and was a student there while I was an employee. And I made her come down and work with me because I knew she was talented and this is exactly what we wanted her to do. So Veronica, if you don't mind, will you just take a moment, please, to introduce yourself and tell everybody about you? And then I'll ask you some of the questions here on the slide, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Hi, y'all. My name is Veronica. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I am originally from sunny Florida, but as Brian just said, spent a good 4 years at Syracuse University getting my undergraduate degree in public relations with a minor in Jewish studies. I've been on the Vandy Hillel team for about 1.5 years now and have the privilege of overseeing our communications and first year engagement. Some of the things to know about me: I am an avid hiker. I love Grey's Anatomy. And if there is good boba in the city of Nashville, I have found it and can give you the recommendation on where to go. How does that sound? About sum me up?
That was really good. That was really good. She also does a lot of high kicks out of nowhere. a lot of enthusiasm, and is also a Tottenham Hotspur fan, which is
Yes.
something that's very, very helpful. So, Veronica, tell us a little bit about our strategy with first year students. Not necessarily for this COVID year, which we'll kind of get into in just a second, but in general, what are we trying to do for every fish?
Absolutely. So my big focus on campus, my number one mission in the first year department is to make sure that every first year student knows that Vanderbilt Hillel is a space for them to feel comfortable at home and in community. So we have a number of programs which, judging by this slide and the questions Brian has for me to come, I'll be able to dive into a little bit more deeply. But the goal of our programming strategy for first year students is to get them introduced to as many friends and potential friends as humanly possible, both within their first year cohort and among their upperclassmen peers. The first year experience at Vanderbilt is hallmarked by really amazing opportunities for first years to gather with one another, to spend time in community with one another. And we think that's great. And we want to replicate a lot of that in our first year programming as well. And sometimes it leaves first years feeling disconnected from the rest of the campus community. So we find that Vandy Hillel is the perfect place to get our first years, who we call FYSH, first year students of Hillel, FYSH there. We get our FYSH to meet upperclassmen that they have something in common with, whether that's just that they're all Jewish, or that they're Jewish and they love fantasy football, or they're Jewish and they're looking for volunteer opportunities on campus. We really make efforts to make sure that our first years are connected and in community with people that they wouldn't otherwise meet through their Vanderbilt journey.
Veronica, if these students are lucky and as smart as we think that they are, and are as excited as Vanderbilt as we are, and they end up getting into Vanderbilt University, can you tell them what the Fish Fest pre-orientation program is and why they should
Yes.
sign up?
So Fish Fest, in short, is the thing that you should do the minute that you get your acceptance from Vanderbilt, is to go and sign up for Fish Fest. It is our super fun, constantly growing pre-orientation program. During a normal year, what Fish Fest looks like is the couple of days before first year move-in, we bring you out to campus a little bit early. You get matched with an upperclassman mentor, which I'll talk about in just a minute, called your Big Fish. And you'll spend a couple of days getting acclimated to campus, to Nashville, and to Hillel with the help of our amazing upperclassmen fish facilitators. Try saying that one 5 times fast. They work hard all year long. In fact, I have current first year students who just went through the Fish Fest program themselves asking me, Veronica, when do facilitator apps open up? I have to be part of Fish Fest again next year. I have to make sure that the next class of first years gets this awesome experience too. So those phenomenal students work really hard for just about a year leading up to the program, creating opportunities for first years to engage in information sessions about what we do at Hillel, personalized campus tours where you and one or maybe 2 other first year students will go with an upperclassman and walk through your schedule before the first day of classes. We take you off campus a couple of times during a normal year when it's safe and we're able to do so, down onto Broadway for your first photos in front of murals and your first taste of what downtown Nashville has to offer you over the course of your 4 years. And then we come together at the end of those couple of days of programming. Oh, and by the way, important to note, parents, we've got interesting and fun stuff for you guys to be doing too while we whisk your students away all over Nashville. It's your perfect opportunity to get to know Ari a little bit better. Some of our other professional staff spend some time engaging with parents and making sure that you know that your students are in the best hands possible when you eventually do leave them in our loving hands in Nashville. And at the end of the program, we all come back together for a really special Shabbat service where oftentimes upperclassmen will share memories and remarks and invite first years to start thinking about what their 4 years on campus and their time as a door is going to look like. So Fish Fest, I like to say, is the most fun that we're going to have on campus all year. And even in a year with COVID, we pivoted, and our amazing, intelligent, and creative student leaders were able to craft a really beautiful and intentional experience for this year's first year students too. Although fingers crossed, by the time you're on campus, we won't have to make that accommodation anymore.
And what about Big Fish, Little Fish? What's the purpose of that program? And can you speak a little bit to Like, what do they do? What do they do together when they get together?
Yeah, totally. So a big fish is an upperclassman matched with a little fish who is an incoming student, whether you're a first year or a transfer student at Vandy, based on a handful of criteria, but most importantly, hinging around similar academic areas of study and common interests. So if you're someone who in high school was a big theater kid like me, fully gonna admit that one, we might match you with Maya Parnas, our biggest theater kid on campus in our Vanderbilt Hillel community. She would become your big fish, and it would be her sole mission across first semester, but oftentimes throughout the rest of your time together on campus, to make sure that you knew she was there for you in every respect, whether you had questions about social life, questions about classes, questions that you can't ask an academic advisor or don't want to ask somebody that's facilitated in a meetup kind of forum through the university itself. Your big fish is there for you through all of that. Big fish oftentimes we find make the best friend pairs throughout the rest of their years at Hillel. And I'm always so touched when I hear my seniors talking about the excitement they have to still, even during their senior year, be getting a little fish, because they just want to make sure that the incoming first years feel as loved and cared for as they did when they were assigned their big fish back in their freshman year. Big fish, little fish pairs at the start of the year. During a typical year, we'll attend a mixer where we get everybody in a group, and that way kind of friends of friends start forming, and we see like cool social groups starting off within the first couple of weeks of classes. And during this year, we've actually seen a number of big fish, little fish do things like getting socially distanced meals together, keeping in touch through FaceTime. A number of our big fish went out of their way as part of the Fish Fest program, but also just as they're amazing people, to give those personalized one-on-one tours to students that were coming in the week prior to classes starting. So your big fish is basically your best bud and your lifeline all wrapped up in one.
Perfect. And then if we could conclude by you telling us a little bit about Fish Board, and if you wouldn't mind, Veronica, could you focus on like what does Fish Board lead into? What's the big end result of our
Yeah,
Fish
so
Board?
Fish Board is our way of getting first years meaningfully engaged in our leadership structure from their first semester on campus. Through many other orgs on campus, it takes a little while for you to be able to get some real leadership structure and experience within their registered student organizations, and that is proudly not the case with Vandy Hillel. Starting first semester, first years are eligible to apply and join our Fish Board experience. We then spend the rest of the semester meeting about once weekly to go over all kinds of topics that we hope that you'll continue to explore with us over the next 3 or 4 or 5 or however many years that you find yourself as a door. We go over Jewish development, leadership development, socialization. It's really a chance for the first year class to bond, get kind of that class of whatever identity kind of getting to start to form, and help you guys explore what it means to be a leader and a Jewish leader on campus and within Hillel. And at the end of that experience, we open up our board's applications, which is actually something that just closed this past Friday. And we're going to be making board placements for the class of 2024 starting tomorrow. But first years that go through our Fish Board process or our Fish Board experience then apply to be on the boards of the micro communities that Brian touched upon in this previous slide. This is, we find, the best way to make sure that our first year voices are being heard and recognized and are a core part of what our programming looks like for their Vanderbilt Hillel experience. I might be biased, but I think first years are the coolest people on campus. They have the most growing to do, but also the most excitement. And so making sure that they are meaningfully engaged by second semester in all of our leadership avenues throughout our organization is something that's really important to us from a Vandy Hillel perspective. So I get to hog y'all for the first semester, and then I get to lovingly pass you on to your boards according to your interest starting second semester.
You're right, Veronica. You are biased, and you should be biased because that's your job. We appreciate that. Awesome.
Happily.
Thank you, Veronica. And just as a reminder, Veronica will be answering questions in the chat. If you have any want a clarification about Fish Board, Fish Fest, big fish, little fish, any fish in the pond, you ask Veronica, and she'll be happy to answer in the chat. Let's see here. There we go. Took me a second to move forward. Let's talk a little bit about Israel on campus. It's at this point that I get the pleasure of introducing Lital. Lital, our brand new Israel fellow. And I got to tell you, right? Like, she's brand new. She just got here. It feels like we just moved her in a few days ago. Lital, would you mind telling everybody just a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm Lital. I actually got here about 2.5, 3 months ago. So when he says brand new, like brand new. So I grew up in Los Angeles. I was born in Israel, raised a little bit abroad, and I moved back to Israel and made Aliyah. So I have a bit of both worlds. I understand both a little bit of the American culture and the Israeli culture as well. I have a bachelor's degree in communication, public diplomacy. And when I was studying, I interned at an organization called ACT-IL, where we did Israel advocacy on online platforms. And when I joined the Army, I was in the spokesperson's unit. So I did media relations with US outlets. So kind of have a bit of background in both media communications and public diplomacy and advocacy. And I'm very excited to be here. And hopefully by the time you guys come, I will already have Nashville recommendations. I don't yet, but hopefully soon. And I will be happy to share those with you guys.
Lital was such a trooper. She came, we had to have her in quarantine, and she was doing all this work for us, like from a hotel. Like, she's the best. She's absolutely, I can't tell you what an amazing spirit she has. And we're so looking forward to working with her and moving forward with her here. Her primary responsibility while she's here is Doors for Israel, what we call DFI. Lital, can you tell them a little bit about how you work with DFI and exactly what DFI is?
The DFI is the Doors for Israel. It's the Vanderbilt Israel advocacy group on campus, where we try to promote a positive impact on the Israeli climate on campus through different through organizing different activities through education, political, social, and cultural programs that we try to do. DFI encourages a lot of discussion on Israel in an open and intellectual setting. We don't want, there's no opinion that is wrong. We are always open to discussion and to talking about different aspects of Israel. So my work with DFI is, first of all, I get to be the Israel connection, because as an Israeli living here, a lot of times I am that connection that allows the students to feel part of Israel. Additionally, I work with our student leaders, who some of them are from Veronica's FYSH, so that is so great to already see them start working. And we get to plan together different events for DFI, like to try and bring Israeli culture onto campus and educate students about Israel and Israel, the people of Israel. Some of our previous events include Falafel at Midday, which we had a couple weeks ago. It's one of our biggest events where we get to bring falafel. We get to have students have like Israeli music. We get to have the Israeli culture and vibe going on. It's one of the most anticipated events of DFI throughout the year, and we usually have it twice a year. We also had game night recently, which was also a lot of fun. We play some Israeli games, some trivia. It's always a blast, and we have like tie-dye. These are some of the more like fun events, but we also have speakers coming in. We'll be having more as well for next semester. And we have different speakers who can talk about different aspects of Israel, from like the culture, from the people, from the different communities of like ethnical backgrounds, from the different political stuff, from the startup nation to talk about innovation and technology. We want to really have a broad understanding of Israel. And so we try to bring speakers who can talk to all of that. And our students are involved not only in DFI, but a lot of them are involved in other student organizations as well. So that allows us, that goes into the next question, which I will speak about once Brian asks, but the students that are involved in other student organizations allows us to have a lot of like interaction with other student orgs.
Yeah, Lital, it's okay. You can go straight into it. What is your mission? Like, what is it that I keep drilling into your head over and over and over again in your first few weeks and won't stop talking about?
So as our Israel programming strategy is allyship. So we try to have different allies with not only the students, but with different communities and different student organizations. And one of the ways that we do this is through the students themselves. A lot of them are very active in a lot of different organizations, not only Hillel and DFI or FYSH, they do a lot of other things. And so their work allows us to have like an open discussion for Israel with other organizations. For example, we have someone from Spears who is the students promoting environmental awareness and responsibility. So for that, we could talk about different like technological things. And we have students who are first year generation students, like that are the first in their families. And that's also really great student org. And what we try to do is just kind of reach out to them and build relationships with them through the students, through me, through whatever options we can, and work together and try to educate all the different communities about anything that we can.
Awesome. Thank you, Lital. I think I'm going to bring you in possibly to talk on the next slide as well with Birthright. But I do want to be conscious of our time and whatnot, because I'm going to give everybody the opportunity to ask questions afterwards. I know what you all have on your mind, and this is actually on one of the later slides. Thanks to the work of Lital, thanks to the work of DFI, thanks to our partnership and allyship with a lot of these other organizations, we've also done a really, really wonderful job, in my opinion, of keeping BDS off campus. Currently, there's no BDS threat on campus. There have been. We know that there may be again in the future, but we believe in our strategy. By building allyship with other groups and organizations, we can go to them, have conversations, talk with them, and it really is a wonderful BDS prevention. All right, let's talk about Birthright. Now, in a normal year, Birthright is a really, really big part of our experience. And I'm just going to kind of glide through this really, really quickly, because unfortunately, we're not 100% sure whether or not the trip will be possible this year. And unfortunately, we couldn't do it last summer either. Birthright is really important, just super important to us. In 2019, a trip that I co-staffed, we had 52 total students on 1.5 buses. The students really appreciate it. We really focus on freshmen and sophomores because we want them to be a community on campus after their experience. So I think there's a lot of Birthright misinformation out there. Oh, you know, they're going to only take juniors and seniors because they're older. They've got, no, we really want freshmen and sophomores so that we can do things like reunions, which Lital is going to be working on a 2019 reunion for the spring, and that we can bring these communities back together. And we can out that as a community of our students getting together and socializing. So, excuse me, this is a place where we lead the league, and I'm really proud of this. And our numbers are up there with any other Hillel in the country, if not beyond. Close to about a third, somewhere between a third and a half of our participants stay in Israel for some sort of professional or educational experience. That may be going to school in Israel, it may be a Maymester, it may be something else entirely. But our students, we understand, Vanderbilt students want to get a resume experience. They want international experience to stand out on their resume. And we do everything we possibly can. Lital is in charge of doing everything she possibly can to make sure that we connect students with every single area of interest that they want, so they have a meaningful internship or job experience in Israel. Lital, I only have just like a second or two, but can you give like the very, very brief overview of what Onward Israel is and why it's so important to us?
Onward Israel is the organization that does internships in Israel for the students here. A lot of the times students will go on Birthright and continue their time in Israel with Onward. And it's just a great program for students to get experience working in the fields that they currently are studying during the summer.
Awesome. And one of the big additional points to Onward is that they're doing it with other Vanderbilt students, right? We send them over in a cohort, Lital interviews them and make sure that they get the opportunity to bond ahead of time. So our communities, which are so important to us, extend even to Israel and even to professional items. All right. Jewish Nashville is amazing. I mean, it's really, really amazing. I was up in Syracuse and I grew up in the Northeast. And when somebody said, come down to Nashville for Vanderbilt Hillel, I kind of laughed and chuckled a little bit because, you know, like it's the Southern Jewish community. It can't be that big. It can't be that big of a deal. I got down here and let me tell you, this is my favorite Jewish community I have ever lived in my entire life. They're so friendly and so welcoming. And the community is growing exponentially as the city grows. I had a mentor once tell me the best piece of advice I've ever gotten from a mentor. He said, move to the city with the most cranes in the skyline, right? Because there's so many opportunities and so much growth. And the Jewish community is coming from places like New York City or Chicago. Our students are staying. Listen, Students who are on this call, you've got to consider staying in Nashville after you're done with your time at Vanderbilt University, because it is an amazing place with job opportunities and a vibrant community, and you name it, the city has everything. A wonderful JCC, 4,700 Jewish homes, and it's growing exponentially since the study in 2015. The Federation annual campaign is going up, or has had wonderful numbers. And what I like to talk about with the Federation, because I'm within earshot of my wife who works at the Federation, is that they support Hillel in an amazing way. When I was in other Hillels at Syracuse and working in other areas, I get federations who told me, like, we can only give you so much because they're not our kids, right? They don't come from our community. They're coming from other communities, and we can't afford to support them. The Nashville Jewish Federation supports them in amazing ways and gives an unbelievable allocation to us every year. There are 5 communities of worship in the area: 2 Reform, 1 Conservative, 1 Modern Orthodox, and a Chabad that's off campus. 2 if you count the campus Chabad. And every single one of them desperately wants our students to be Hebrew school teachers, right? They want them to be involved. They invite them to events and programs, and they are so open and wonderful. And if you're silly enough not to want Goldie's meals for Passover or for high holidays, I've got a list of families like a mile long here in Nashville that will take students in if you want a home experience for the holidays. It's a warm, welcoming, growing, amazing Jewish community. Excuse me. Adapting to challenging times. We've done everything we possibly can to make sure that we continue doing outstanding programming, sticking to our values, even during COVID. We've served 1,500 meals this fall semester for Shabbat and holidays. Students are taking them to go. Goldie makes them and hands them to the students personally, and with like instructions on how to warm it up. And sometimes she throws in extra candy for Halloween. And it's a really warm, touching, wonderful way of distributing meals, which we know are so important to our students. We do food and soup deliveries for students in quarantine or that are COVID positive. I've run up to a few doors, knocked really quickly, ran back to my car, and the door opens and the students discover that there's 4 or 5 meals or some supplies that they needed standing or sitting, excuse me, I should say, in a box by their door. We care. Remember, family away from family. If you have a moment, check out our YouTube channel. We've done a wonderful holiday and Shabbat choose your own adventure style service, where if you want to, you can watch the entire Rosh Hashanah service from start to finish. Or if you don't have time, you can watch little bits and pieces. And the best part is we've had over 30 students participate in creating those services virtually by recording or reading a prayer or doing stuff. We have this amazing Kol Nidre performance by students. It's just outstanding. And the students care about their own community, but we care about them and creating a format where they could go and take part in it whenever they were free and in whatever way that they wanted to do it. And then just highlighting one of our groups, we have a Tikkun Olam committee, which I'm really proud of. I advise them, but I'm really proud of them anyways. I'm a little biased. And they did this amazing initiative for voting where they help students figure out how to register votes and how to get their ballots in. And they also did this really cool document where they sent it to teachers, and it was supposed to support the teachers. And it's really this cool thing. So like I said, we're trying to be as innovative as we possibly can and taking some different approaches to things. Everything else, my boy Jordan there, who graduated last year, giving the thumbs up that we're almost there and ready for your questions. But because I've been giving tours for a lot longer than some of you have even been alive, that's not quite true, but it's close. I know some of the questions that you're about to ask. So going back, no, we don't currently have BDS on campus. No, the university does not offer Jewish holidays off. This is a university policy that's longstanding. If you communicate with your professors, they oftentimes will give you time and space to either make up a test or do homework or whatever the situation may be. Over my 4 years here, I think we've only had 1 or 2 incidences in all of the holidays and students and whatnot where a professor kind of fought a Jewish holiday. So it is a welcoming environment for taking spiritual time off, but the university does not officially mandate it or sanction it. Yes, Hillel and Chabad occasionally do programs together. We haven't in a while because of COVID. However, we really do believe and think Chabad is a ally on campus. We encourage our students to utilize Chabad for whatever they want to utilize Chabad for, and then come back to us for whatever they want to utilize us for. We try and do holidays like Hanukkah together, where we can get along and do everything that we possibly can to kind of find a mutual space. I will tell you that the place where we don't necessarily do programming together is usually on religious services, because everything that we do is egalitarian, and everything that we do really fully incorporates women leadership. And that's kind of one of our hard lines in terms of services. So we encourage students for more traditional services to take advantage of Chabad. And then yes and no, there's a Jewish fraternity on campus, Zeta Beta Tau. I happen to be the chapter advisor for ZBT. They're a wonderful fraternity. But no, we do not have a Jewish sorority on campus. The Jewish sorority, one Jewish sorority came to campus about 5 years ago looking to colonize. And they got together a whole bunch of Jewish women and said, hey, we're looking to come to campus. You want to be a part of us, right? We're going to come here and you're going to be our membership. And all of the Jewish women that were called into that meeting said, no, you can't come. Please don't come. Don't, because it took us 90 years to get into all of the sororities on campus, to break down some of those barriers. And we do have Jewish women in almost every sorority, if not every sorority on campus. We don't want you to have a Jewish sorority here because we're afraid that some of the other sororities on campus will become more exclusive and will stop taking Jewish students. And that is the reason why we have no Jewish sorority on campus. And last, but again, most importantly, yeah, the food is that good. Yeah, I know I've been talking about it a lot, but that's a really big, important part of all of this. And usually if you were on a tour, I'd invite you to get a meal over at Greens or something, or come for a Shabbat and have a little Goldie food. And I can't, so I got to tell you over and over and over. How to connect with us. A lot of information on our website. You can really learn a lot about us from our social media. Vandy Hillel, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. On Facebook, you can find a whole bunch of really crappy memes that I came up with for advertising our Shabbat to go. I think they're funny, and that's what's important. And then in terms of contact information, I welcome you to reach out to any of us. Lital, Veronica, and I. Our contact information is there on the side. And I'm going to leave this slide up and open the floor to questions. And I think that this is probably best done if you share your question, or share that you have a question on the chat, and then we'll try as best as we possibly can to call on you. Does that make sense? Is everything cool? All right. So, all right, if you have a question, please feel free to put it in the chat now. Or just let us know that you'd like to say your question, and we'll allow you to take yourself off mute and do it that way. I'm just catching up with the chat, and I can see that Veronica backed me up my memes, and I really appreciate that. Any questions?
I just got a question in, and we're getting some more too, which is awesome. That I think the answer for everyone would be potentially helpful. So someone just asked me how we deal with gap year students. A number of our students will do gap years programs domestically and abroad. Most interestingly, recently I heard of a student who just did a gap year that took her, or was slated to take her, but COVID had other plans, unfortunately, to Europe and South America and places in Northern Canada. It was kind of crazy. But we do have a number of students that do participate in gap year programs and then come into the Vanderbilt community. They are welcomed into our first year community with open arms. And specifically, the only thing that we really do differently with those students when they are, and if they are applying or advocating for a big fish, if they want to be a little fish and join our big fish little fish program, I'll typically ask them on the side, hey, do you want a big fish that's the same age as you? Are you cool with a big fish that might be a little bit younger, or do you really are you looking for someone who can be an older person, a mentor for you in that regard? But a bunch of our first year students do routinely take advantage of other learning opportunities between high school and college.
Thank you, Veronica. I'll take the next one in regards to the educational viewpoint. Unfortunately, so let me read the question out, I should say. Coming from an educational viewpoint, what are some stats of Vanderbilt students? Unfortunately, I don't have all of like the admission statistics and the test numbers and whatnot with me right now. We were expecting somebody from the university to be able to attend today. They're actually going to be at the Monday and Tuesday instead. There was a little bit of a miscommunication, and I don't have all of those information that traditionally would be given out from the admissions department. However, I can say Vanderbilt is an academically competitive environment on par with Ivy or near Ivy. The students who come here are also students that have been either accepted or are considering Ivy League schools, the Emorys of the world. The Cornell is also another school that they consider frequently. In terms of the academic rigor, this is really intense. Our students who participate are very, very, very serious about their academics. Sometimes our biggest issue with students, and one of the reasons we focus on wellness so much, is that we want them to take care of themselves while they're studying and doing all of the high level educational stuff. But to just give you the framework of where Vanderbilt considers itself, there used to be this expectation that Vanderbilt was the Harvard of the South, right? And people used to wear shirts that said Vanderbilt was the Harvard of the South. And then lately, I've seen shirts that say Harvard is the Vanderbilt of the North. So that is the attitude, and that is the academic level of experience. In terms of the next question, is there a lot of anti-Semitism ignorance on campus? I would say as of right now, campus is a very, very welcoming, not anti-Semitic, not ignorant place. You do get some, let me just put it this way, curious, ignorant people who may have come from areas of the country where perhaps Jewish students aren't as numerous. But in general, our Jewish students walk around with their Hillel shirts. They walk around with their Jewish summer camp shirts. Our Vanderbilt and Hebrew shirts are very, very popular and are welcomed and appreciated. That comes from a few different things. Number one is, when it comes right down to it, Nashville is a very progressive city with a fairly large growing Jewish population. So here within the city limits, there's kind of a understanding that Judaism and Jewish people are here and present and whatnot. Also, the university is, I think, very afraid of rehashing some of those kind of crappy perspectives about how the school was anti-Semitic back in the day. So the university is very quick to stomp out anti-Semitism and to reach out to us and to work with us to make sure it's a safe environment for our students. The one thing that I'll say is, and this is, I think, one of the big adjustments mentally, is you also have to remember, though, if you're traveling 15, 20 miles in any direction outside of Nashville, Nashville suburbs, Nashville proper, you do find yourself at times in some rural areas of Tennessee where maybe those aren't exactly, some of the things I talked about aren't exactly the same, right? Like you may find a little bit more anti-Semitism or ignorance. But here in the Nashville bubble, here in this geographic area, I would absolutely 100% feel comfortable expressing my Jewish identity. The students do. It's a very, very warm and welcoming environment for Jewish students. Next question: if a student is a perfect fit for your Hillel, how do you promote that to Vanderbilt University as a recommendation? If I can get a little bit of clarity on that question, are you talking about in terms of the application process? And you can come off on speaker or type in. Yes, okay, great. In the chat box, that's a big yes. All right, so in terms of admissions, there's my secret internal, like, nobody's ever going to hear me say this except for you guys, because there's nobody from admissions on the call, and I can be super honest because I don't work for the university. Mentioning that you are a Jewish student, have Jewish leadership experiences or Jewish experiences in general on your resume, on your application, on your essays will not hurt you at all. It can only help. It's not going to necessarily get you in if your academics are not high enough. However, if it gets close, right, this is the kind of thing that the university looks for. They're promoting diversity on campus. They want a diverse campus. And knowing that you have had some sort of Jewish leadership opportunities or experiences or have a strong Jewish identity will not hurt you during the application process. I will tell you though, I have my inside person over at admissions who I used to get coffee with all the time, before the apocalypse, used to sit down with me and talk to me about like what she looked for when she was reading applications. The number one thing that she said is super important to her when she's reading applications from around the country is that students know when to advocate for themselves. They really, really, really love this idea of a student who is not going to get so far down the rabbit hole, get so far buried in their work or in their struggles or whatever, that they don't know how to ask for help and that it's too late. They want students to show in their applications and in their essays signs, experiences, examples of when they advocated for themselves and when they showed self-care and when they promoted themselves and did everything that they possibly could to fix a situation before it got to the point of unfixable. And I think that a lot of our students have a lot of pride. I can do it myself. I'll figure it out myself. It's not that big of a deal. But they understand that when students get here and they're on their own and the academics are so unbelievably rigorous, that they're going to need help. And that's one of the places where Hillel can come in handy, right? Like that's why we have big little mentorships. That's why we do everything we can to introduce you to upperclassmen. And that's a really, really, really important thing. Does that make sense? Is everybody cool with that? Any other questions in the chat for me, Veronica, Lital? Veronica, it looks like we're over by a minute or two, but is there any last things that you want to add or throw in and tell everybody?
If you have any more questions, if you're thinking of something, one of my favorite parts of my job I always love to say is that I get to spend a lot of time forming one-on-one relationships with students. So please don't hesitate to use that contact info, send us a message. We're always looking to help y'all out in any way that we possibly can.
How about you, Lital? Any parting words, any advice, anything that you want to share with everybody here?
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free, even if it is to talk about like what it is to live here in Nashville. I just moved here, so if you have any questions about that, you can honestly feel free. If you have any questions about the Jewish environment here or the Israeli environment, feel free to contact me.
Awesome, Lital. I will give you one more piece of advice that I just kind of thought about. Something like 70%, 75%, 80%, I don't know, I make up a whole bunch of statistics. A lot, let's just say a lot of our Jewish students apply early decision 1. And I think that that says a lot about our students and it says a lot about their commitment to Vanderbilt, that they're all in. And the university really, really, really likes seeing that. So that's my last piece of advice for you guys, unless you have any other additional questions, is if you feel like this place is right for you and you don't want to hedge and you're not looking at other schools seriously and this is the place you want to be and you're really excited about everything that we've said and everything that you've seen today and online and everywhere else, go. Put yourself all in, do everything you possibly can and get that application in for early decision 1. Lital and Veronica and I will stick on the call for just another minute or two in case anybody wants to stay back and ask any sort of questions. But I want to finish today by saying thank you. Thank you so much for taking time to learn about us, to learn about our Jewish family, to learn a little bit about Vanderbilt University and Vanderbilt Hillel. We wish you the absolute best of luck with any hard decisions coming up. I know this is really an unusual time and you can't necessarily go visit all these campuses that you want to visit. And we are here. We are here to give you advice and to talk to you about any college or university, not just Vanderbilt Hillel, because we believe in what we're doing and we believe in the Hillel movement. And we will tell you nice things about every Hillel except for Duke. Nobody likes Duke. You shouldn't go to Duke. I'm just kidding. You can go to Duke, but not really. Friends don't let friends go to Duke. All right, so we're going to be sticking around, and if you have any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, have a absolutely wonderful day, and I hope that your football team wins on Sunday. Thank you. But like, you don't have to go to Duke. Grady, was that too anti-Duke?
It's just the right amount of anti-Duke.
I think so. I think so. We have a little rivalry. It's cute.
That was awesome. Thank you so much. It really, really was most helpful in really getting the feel of joining the Hillel and being a part of, the ongoing family community that I think our kids, as a parent, I can say are leaving. So it's comforting to know that there's an extension of our home in your home. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. And I know, again, very crazy times, very, very difficult. Parents want to know that their students are going to be cared about. And we're here, right? Sometimes it takes students a little while to find us and to get to us. Maybe it's for fantasy football. Maybe it's for Shabbat services. You never know. But we want to be an extension of your family. And we really do mean it. One of the reasons that we bring on Veronica is because she knows that this experience from both being a student side of things as well as being a Hillel professional, and has lived it on both sides.
I will
Yep.
definitely say it is not lost on me the kind of trust that it takes for a parent to leave the most important human being in your whole world in our hands, and it is something that I take personally like a massive honor that I get to be the one to help foster their climatization to campus and what their beginning of their Vanderbilt journey looks like. And I'm so excited that I get to start them off with a smile and with them knowing that there's at least one person who isn't related to them who cares so much about their success and time at college.
That's wonderful. I mean, I would take you along to anywhere that you would go because it just sounds that special. But they can only apply, it's my understanding they can only apply once they get into the school, correct? So is that like a second step once they kind of get their admission answer? The second step is to reach out to you and sign up with your Hillel. Is that how it works as opposed to the other way around?
So we don't have a formal membership to our Hillel. We are a program that seeks to make Jewish life meaningful and Judaism meaningful to every student on campus. So once your student is a member of the Vanderbilt community, they are a member of the Hillel community as well, and can start coming to programming, start attending Shabbat services and dinners, and hop in on absolutely everything from us from the minute that they are admitted.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Thank
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So glad to have talked with you.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Anybody else who's hanging on have any other questions? Anything they'd like to bring up? All right, so I think that means that we're going to be ending. I'm going to close this in just a second. Last call. All right, everybody have a great Sunday. Thank you so much, staff. You guys are the best. Seriously, I couldn't have done it without you. All right. Talk to everybody soon, all right?
Thanks, y'all. Bye.